Welcome to the spring meeting of the University Council. I want to thank everybody for coming out on this beautiful spring non-blizzard day. We scheduled this to avoid the blizzard, by the way. We're never as in control as we think we are. It's hard to believe that we are nearing the end of the academic year. I don't know where time goes, but maybe somebody from physics can help us with that. They're probably online. I want to congratulate in advance those who are completing their journey at UND and will be graduating. You may not be here in this room right now, but I'm sure everybody's thinking about you and wishing you the best for whatever comes next. And hopefully we'll get a good turnout for commencement as well. It's been a busy year, as you all know. I'm sure everybody's been busy with their usual activities. We've had an interesting legislative session. We're not done with that yet. We're getting close. I'm sure everybody saw the email that came out that President Armacost is hosting a town hall next week on Wednesday at noon, I think. So hopefully everybody will be able to participate in that. And there'll be other items on the agenda for that as well. This was the year that we, the campus community released the new strategic plan. And I think that we'll be also talking about how that's going to roll out. And I know colleges have been busy at work on their own planning for their strategic plans. The thing that I really like about University Council, so we're meeting today for University Council, and this is one of those opportunities where we get to compare notes across campus. So many things we do within our own colleges or mostly within our own departments. And it's not always obvious all the really cool things that are happening across campus. And we heard from some colleges and deans in the fall. Today we'll hear from some others. And as always, we'll hear from President Armacost as well. Some of the highlights of what's happening within colleges and maybe a little peek into the future of what might be in the works. I also wanted to remind everybody that next week is on Thursday is the last meeting of the University Senate for this academic year. I'm sure you all knew that, and we're planning on looking in on that if you're not actually in the Senate, but obviously you're welcome to watch the proceedings. We're going to be getting a visit from a couple of folks that might be of interest to everybody, including Maridee Singh, the CIO, going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with UIT and the telecom updates. So that'll be next week on May 4th. And we're also going to be hearing from Karen Plum in the Provost office about the experiential learning center that's in the works. So other things that would be of interest broadly across campus. All right, let's see if this works. This is the agenda for today. You've presumably all seen it, and mostly we're going to be hearing from deans and different colleges, the ones that we didn't hear from in the fall. And just a quick reminder, this seems to always show up when we have University Council meetings. University Council is where we have the opportunity, where faculty and everybody have the opportunity to participate in shared governance, which is obviously something that we place a lot of value on around here. And the Senate, of course, is where we have a chance to represent views of faculty and staff, and students are also represented in the Senate. We don't need to do a deep dive on any of that because I think most people are probably pretty familiar with this structure. My reminders again that there will be a couple of events that will be of interest to everybody next week, and I've already mentioned them. And at this point, we'll just start walking through the agenda, and we'll be hearing from Dean Tande from College of Engineering and Mines first.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate the opportunity to give an update. I think I have some slides. Are you pulling them up? Maybe, maybe not. If not, I'll just wing it, I guess. There we go. Okay, great. All right, I'm Brian Tande, Dean of the College of Engineering and Mines. Happy to be with you here today. We've had a busy year here in the college, and now I'm struggling to get this to work. There we go. We've added some new programs, and we're in the process of adding some additional programs. Biomedical engineering launched in the fall. We had a great incoming class of students. We're teaching this program a little bit differently using something we call innovation-based learning. And so this is a program that's really geared to be hands-on, focused on industry challenges, and where students will work on projects alongside our industry partners. We've needed some space for that, so we moved over into a location, I guess it's temporarily, over in Columbia Hall, because that building will eventually be coming down, but it's a good space for us in the meantime. And we're also involved with a consortium called SHEIC, which is the Senior Healthcare Innovation Consortium. And that's a group of companies all working on new technologies to support seniors and help them to live longer, healthier lives. And the technical challenges that they face will be a major focus of our biomedical engineering program and the projects that our students work on. We're also very excited about the aerospace engineering program that we're going to be starting in the fall. This will be a collaboration with the School of Aerospace Sciences. I think it's something that's been a long time coming. Obviously, we have a world-class School of Aerospace, and we're really happy to be partnering with them on this program. It'll be really a true partnership. Many of the classes will be taught over in aerospace. Our students in engineering will have the opportunity to take classes alongside pilots, and I think it'll generate a lot of really great collaborative projects. And it also support the National Security Initiative on campus, which is obviously a major focus of not only UND, but the college as well. We opened this year the Transportation Technology Research Institute, and this is a partnership with the North Dakota Department of Transportation. I have to give credit to my colleague Daba Gaddafa for helping build that relationship over several years that led to this award and this partnership, working on quite a few projects. Even though it's housed in engineering, it is a university-wide initiative, and we've already got a great collaborative project with the biology department related to wildlife crossing of roads and a variety of other projects in the works. We are doing quite a bit of planning for new and upgraded facilities in the college. I'll talk a little bit about that more in a bit, but we made quite a bit of progress on that this year. And then overall, as a college, I think we've done well in growing our enrollment slightly, but still growth, and turning around a dip that we've seen in student credit hours over the years. So it seems that we've plateaued there, and I think with the new programs that we've added and some additional recruiting that we have planned, I think things will look pretty good in terms of enrollment. Of course, all of this is done because we have fantastic faculty and students, and there's way too many success stories to share with you, but I'm going to share just a couple faculty who had particularly strong years. Dr. Hallie Chelmo, an assistant professor of mechanical engineering, won a very nice DoD award this year. That's a collaborative project related to hypersonics, which again is connected to the National Security Initiative on campus. So really proud of the work that she's doing in collaboration with Dave Deline and in atmospheric sciences, and also collaborators at Purdue. Another faculty member who had fantastic last couple of years is Dr. Tawfiq Mahmood in geological engineering. Won a career award about a year ago, and just last week found out he won 2 USDA awards. Sent me an email that he'd won an award. 5 minutes later, I got another email that he won another award. So he had a very fantastic day last week. So we are a bit overdue, perhaps as a college, in creating a new strategic plan. And now that the UND Leads plan is out, we'll be focusing quite a bit of effort this year on a strategic plan for the college. Short of that, though, we have been working off of a vision that we call 2020 by 2030. And I think this will be incorporated into that plan when that gets developed. And really, this has 2 parts. So the first 20 refers to growing our research expenditures to 20 million by 2030. And that's up from, around 9 to 12 million over the last few years. This is something that I think we need to do to bring in new resources into the college and allow us to hire additional faculty, researchers, support new PhD students, and so on. To get there, we've invested quite a bit, as well as the university has invested quite a bit in a number of key focus areas, things like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, materials and manufacturing, transportation. And so we hope to achieve that by 2030, and the other 20 refers to our student to faculty ratio. So we've grown in terms of our headcount quite a bit over, say, the last 10 years, but our faculty numbers haven't quite kept up. And so in order to support the students that we in the way that we want to, and provide that environment that we really think our students need, we need to add quite a few faculty. And so across our college, we have student faculty ratios of, in some cases 50 or more in some departments. And so we'll be doing quite a bit of hiring over the rest of this decade. And that's on top of some, the natural attrition that we see, and then some retirements that we'll expect to see as well. So, and of course, those additional faculty bring in new research capabilities and capacities to support the growth in research as well. So these 2 goals are certainly synergistic. And both of those goals require something else, and that is a new and updated facilities for the college. So we're really excited that this year, our project to build a new engineering building was one of the priorities coming out of UND and the NDUS system. And it's too early to I guess, count our chickens. Peter would caution me not to count on it, but things are looking pretty good that we'll get somewhere above $50 million for a new CEM facility to be matched at some level with quite a bit of fundraising. So we have a lot of work to be done on our side to make this a reality. But the idea is we would renovate some of our older facilities, maybe move out of 1 or 2 buildings, and then build a new engineering building on the Hislop site. And that would be paired with a future project to build a STEM building. And so here's an idea of what that might look like. That would be the engineering building towards the top, and the STEM building connected to that and other parts of campus. So really excited about that. A lot of work yet to be done, but I think it really changed the face of that end of campus. So I think I'll end there. Thanks for your attention. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thanks. Very exciting stuff. And next up, we'll be hearing from Dean Pappas from the School of Law.
Thank you. I'll also wait for my PowerPoint. The slides are meant to distract you from having to look at me, so they'll be successful. Great. So I am really pleased to be here as the Dean of the Law School. I've been here since July, and everybody asked me last fall, how do you like it here? And I said, we love it here. And then they said, well, let's wait and see how you feel about it in February. Nobody said, wait and see how you feel about it in April. But still love it here. And really, it's a privilege to be the Dean of the Law School. So let me, not going to ever miss an opportunity to talk about what makes our law school unique. And there are a few things that you may not know that make us very unique. We have a very strong community of a relatively small number of law students compared to other schools. And that's a real advantage for us. We have a very strong community. We have full-time faculty who value practice. At some places, practice is seen as the opposite of what we want to focus on, but we really work hard to bridge the theory practice divide, and we care deeply about the practice. We have a very strong and supportive bar and bench here in North Dakota. We only have 3,100 lawyers in North Dakota, so this really is a strong community that supports and takes care of one another. One of the main opportunities that our law students have here that many law students don't have around the country is the opportunity to clerk for a judge. Our judges really support us, and they care deeply about our graduates and the success of the law school, and that's a unique and exciting piece. We have 238 externship sites, which is a lot of externship sites for the size that we are. And so we care about service to the community and providing experiential opportunities for students. Trish Hodney does a wonderful job for us there. One of those sites is our legislative externship site, where we have students right now in Bismarck who are staffing committees. They're staffing different organizations, thanks to Julia Ernst for the legislative class that she runs that helps prepare them. It's a very exciting opportunity that I don't believe takes place anywhere else. We have very affordable tuition. In many instances, our out-of-state tuition is less than other states' in-state tuition. So not only are we doing a lot with less, we're providing great value for it. And then one of the things that I think makes us very unique is that in North Dakota, you can be a leader from day one here. We have so many different student orgs that provide opportunities for student leadership. And then once you go into practice, you can actually start leading and doing things from day one. It's not like in other places where you may be doing research, although those are great jobs as well. You can actually get out in the courtroom and be doing transactional deals, et cetera. So let me share with you one of the things that is really new for us this year, and that's we have a lot of new faces. So we had 86 students in our class of 2025. That's getting close to our max based on our capacity. So we've been very successful in our efforts to enroll students. We also have 4 new law professors and 4 new staff members. I want to briefly say something about each of them. They all started this year, and they've been wonderful additions to our community. Carolyn Williams, I'm moving left to right across the screen. Carolyn Williams joined us from the University of Arizona Law School. She has a national reputation as a legal writing expert. She even authored the 7th edition of the Allwood Guide to Legal Citation. We were really lucky to have Carolyn with us. Tande Oyeumi is an oil and gas legal scholar. He joined us from the University of Oregon. He earned his PhD in Finland. He has a master's of law from Scotland. And our oil and gas certificate program is up and running thanks to his leadership and his efforts. Dan Leverins is a member of the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska. He was previously a staff attorney at the National Native American Rights Fund. He's been very active in campus work around repatriation and NAGPRA, been extremely valuable resource, and we're really proud of him for what he's been doing. He was recently awarded an early career scholars grant for interdisciplinary research. Blake Klinkner has extensive experience in law and technology. He was a visiting faculty member at Washburn. I've also learned firsthand he's a very good curler. He taught me how to curl, me and a bunch of other students, and then once they actually started the game, all of a sudden he couldn't miss the circle. So he's got some talent. Katie Lynn joins us from Kansas State. She's our new head of technical services in the library. That includes acquisitions and cataloging and electronic resource management. Just an outstanding addition to our team. John Voigt joins us from Arizona. He's our head of faculty services in the library. He clerked for Justice Vanderwall, and we're really happy to have him back in North Dakota. Dalton Erickson wears the best shirts of anybody at the law school. He's showing that actually in the photo. He started the year as our faculty assistant, did a terrific job, and is extremely valuable. He now has a new job as our events and marketing coordinator. And then last but not least, Maggie Melvin, she's our new director of admissions. She was previously in the admissions office here at the larger UND. Great ideas, just a wonderful addition to our team. And we're really proud that she was just admitted into the EDD program here at UND. So let me talk about some notable accomplishments that we've had. First, we successfully renewed our ABA accreditation for 10 years. And that's really a 3-year process. A lot of work went into that. Former Dean McGinnis really spearheaded that effort and did a terrific job. There was a whole team supporting him as well. So we're really happy that we remain in good standing with the ABA. It's a long process, but a successful one. We recently learned that Catherine Rand was named as Chester Fritz Distinguished Professor. This is only the second Chester Fritz Professor we've had in our history. We're really proud of that. And Stephen Light, her publishing partner in the Department of Political Science, also was awarded, and we're proud of them both. We also placed second in the Giles Rich Moot Court Regional Competition for Intellectual Property. We then competed at the Nationals in Washington, D.C. We had 3 outstanding students: Casey Dregge, Sarah Belliston, Daniel Middleton. They were coached by Professor Nick Datsoff, who did a terrific job, and as always, Kirsten Dauphiné, who supports and oversees our moot court program, just does a fantastic job. And then finally, in terms of notable accomplishments, our ultimate bar pass rate is not yet finished for the 21-23 cycle, but for the 20 to 22 cycle is 94%. And that is a high number. And so what that is who passes the bar exam 2 years after graduating. That's what the ABA requires in terms of the ultimate bar pass rate. To put that in context, the best school has a 98% pass rate. And so we're getting pretty close. Something that we're going to continue focusing on. What are we doing in terms of some key initiatives? Similar to the senior Brian, we are focusing on strategic planning. We've held a lot of listening sessions. We've just held a retreat last Friday, even with a weather delay. And we're going to begin surveys in the external part of our planning process in the year to come. We will be focusing on outreach and partnership. This last fall, I visited all the counties in North Dakota. I plan to do that again. And if anyone is interested in collaborating with we're interested in the intersection of service and teaching and scholarship and really making sure that we have an impact. Finally, we're very focused on our curriculum. There's going to be a new bar exam coming out in 2026, 2027. And is going to require that we look carefully at our curriculum, that we focus on our student experience. We're looking at advising, we're looking at our bar preparation efforts, we're looking at our career services, and that effort's only going to continue over the next year. We're going to be reevaluating our curriculum in light of the changes, and we're excited for what is going to come in the next year. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for that. I'll tell you something that I don't tell people very often anyway. When I was an undergrad, trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life, I debated law school versus grad school. I applied to both. I got into both. I went to grad school. Obviously, I'm a biologist because I thought I'd be able to be outdoors more. I don't know if that ended up being true. Our next speaker is scheduled to be Dr. Wynne, if he's online. No? All right. If he shows up, he's not in town today, and he indicated he would join us remotely. And as always, we will find out what we really can do with technology or not. But we'll just continue with the agenda then. Dean Shogren from Nursing and Professional Disciplines.
Boy, that's a faraway wait. It's a good thing I brought these. Okay. All right. Does this go right to left? Up and down. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be with you all today. I thought I'd pull together some updates from all 3 of the departments, as well as some highlights for our college. Starting with the nursing side of things, lots and lots of changes going on at a national level that is trickling down into the work that we're doing in the department. If we look at the undergraduate side, Finally got licensure down and things are going pretty well, and AACN decided to change everything around. So we are in preparations of revising our curriculum to meet the new guidelines needed to complete the licensure exam, or the NCLEX. Very much shifting the focus to clinical judgment types of questions. It's a whole different format to the questions that the students are being asked. So we're needing to start from all different levels to prepare them for that. We did continue to see a dip in our enrollment post-pandemic. Thought we'd finally come back in the spring of 23, had a full cohort to start, and then had 8 students who, due to unsatisfactory progress in their prerequisite work, weren't able to enter our cohort. So we're trying again. Fall of 23 is full. We had over 90 applicants for our 64 spots and have a full cohort moving into the fall. We've already filled 10 spots of the spring 24 cohort, and those applications are still open. So feeling pretty optimistic that we're starting to see things kind of come back on the professional side of nursing. This is really new for us this year. We have something called a co-op program that we've had for years and years. I can tell you way back, I was actually a co-op student. And these are placements in the summer for students who enroll in 1 or 2 credits and get to work in an expanded scope of practice under a registered nurse in many different areas. To date, we have had 53 requests and students now placed all across North Dakota for this summer. So that is the highest number we've had in a very long time. So feeling really happy about that, and a healthy pool graduating over this academic year. On the graduate side of things, we are expecting 90 nurse practitioner students. That would be both in our family nurse practitioner track and the psych mental health nurse practitioner track to start this fall. Those applications are open until June. So expecting to see a few more there. Our nurse anesthesia class upped their cohort size to 25. And so we'll be having 25 students starting this fall, as opposed to usually 20 that would start. There is actually a certified registered nurse anesthetist shortage nationwide. And North Dakota in particular is really looking for CRNAs to come into their rural practice settings in particular. So increasing that in response to that demand. And then we have 13 starting in our postmaster's DNP track. This has also seen an increase in enrollment secondary to the leadership courses and tracks that we're now offering there. We had a couple of new hires into the graduate side. Dr. Beth Ann Frazier comes to us with a background not only in family, as a family nurse practitioner, but as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So she's been able to cross both of those programs. Received a lovely email from a student about her today, this morning, and the work that they're doing. And then Dr. Sharon Simon will be joining us May 1st as the new family nurse practitioner director. Our previous director left to do some work with the state health department. And so we're seeing some shifting there. Dr. Simon is probably one of the most logical people I've ever met, and I love it. I like how her brain works. And so we're looking at bringing in a real strong rural focus in our family nurse practitioner program. You can see our graduates there looking good as well. And thinking ahead for the fall of 23, we are going to be rolling out a nurse educator certificate program. So just like we're having workforce challenges with nursing across the state, we're also having faculty challenges. And so to complete that cycle, we have to not only grow students, but grow faculty. And one of the issues that we run into is that our State Board of Nursing requires nursing faculty to have nursing education courses, or at least a background. So for those who are out there and say they have a master's degree as an MBA and they're working in the clinical side of things, they're not qualified per the board to teach in our program. But by offering them a 9-credit certificate in nursing education, they are now able to teach for us. And so we've been reaching out to our organizational partners to see about cohort work and seeing if we can get people who are interested and starting to do some unique shared service kind of things where they're part-time in practice and part-time in faculty. So growing that. Looking ahead to spring 24, our graduate nursing program is transitioning away from the online program management model. And so we're doing some shifting in curriculum. We'll be moving our nurse practitioner tracks to a post back to DNP track. So doing work there. The AGACNP acronym stands for an Adult Gero Acute Care Nurse Practitioner track. One of the problems that we have seen in our rural areas in particular is that family nurse practitioners now are being watched very closely about their scope of care and are not always being able to handle the acute types of things that are needed in rural facilities or as hospitalists. And so we've had requests and demands from our hospital partners to look at offering this type of a certificate program. So it's a postmaster's focused on the acute care. We've already had a number of our FNP graduates who have inquired about this. And then we are looking to resume admissions to our PhD in nursing program in the fall of 24 as well. Lastly, from the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, we're now being asked to shift our curriculums to a competency-based curriculum. So not as heavy a focus going to be placed on the number of clinical hours that our students are completing at both the undergraduate and graduate side, but rather on the competencies that they're able to achieve. So that comes with it a very lengthy essentials document to guide the work that we're going to be doing, and we'll start pulling that together this fall. There we go. On nutrition and dietetics side, this past academic year started offering an online graduate health and wellness coach certification program. This is interdisciplinary, so you don't have to be a nutritionist or a dietitian to take this type of certification. And we've had interest from a lot of people in the health and wellness industry. So trainers, for example, coming in to want to look at this. We started out pretty small. We have one student already graduating in August. We have 4 students who are in progress and one that's enrolled to start this summer. So really trying to increase our recruitment efforts for that certificate program. Our human nutrition program will start offering an online degree option in the 23-24 academic year. And this will be in addition to their campus-based program. The coordinated program in dietetics, which means that we're actually one of the very few institutions that help our students find their clinical placement to go along with this program. That's not the norm nationwide, but they have had a shift for their students to be able to sit for a licensure exam, and that will be graduating the last group of bachelor students who are able to sit for that certification this year. And starting in 24, they're going to be required to have a master's degree. So that accelerated program is now shifting into gear, so that we can continue to address those workforce needs. And there are dietitian openings all over the place. So one of the things that we recently learned is that we have a whole different kind of student looking to find a degree in nutrition and dietetics. They're not typically our high school students, but we learn the average age is 28. And so we've got a lot of second career type of folks looking for this degree. So that's causing us to rethink and refocus how we're doing our recruitment efforts in those programs. We had one new hire come into the program, Dr. Nathaniel Johnson, or Thani, and he has hit the ground running and really working to bring a culture of research back into our nutrition program. So he just submitted last week down to the wire. We had a couple proposals go out by Dr. Johnson, and he's had the opportunity to do some really interesting things with drones, food deserts, and getting food out to our rural communities. Program enrollments have been down. And so, as I said, we're really looking at focusing where we can put our recruitment efforts. And this past spring, just a couple weeks ago, we awarded over $43,000 in student scholarships for nutrition. So with a lower enrollment program, that's pretty hefty amount of money in scholarship funds. On the social work side of things, last year, social work went through their accreditation process and had a successful site visit for both their bachelor's and master's programs in September. We did receive our deferral letter, which means that they wanted us to provide more information. And I don't think we're surprised. They wanted us to speak to our efforts in DEI. And so put together that information. That has now been submitted, and their committee will meet in June. And so then we hope to hear that we've had a full reaffirmation of the program's accreditation in July coming forward. At our first in-person homecoming event last fall, social work took advantage and hosted an all-day CEU and education training for social workers in the state as well as alumni. And we had over 50 people attend that day. And at that time, they honored an alumni of the year, which is who was Carol Shuey-Nice, who was a previous faculty member that was here. They've had 2 department hires over this last academic year. Dr. Jeffrey Andre Clark comes with a very interesting perspective of financial social work. And so his expertise is really looking not only at students, but families and how their financial status and needs that they have to have a healthy environment, what that looks like. And then Rachel Beam came to us in kind of a shared capacity from the Children Family Services Training Center. So this is the first time that we had kind of a co-hire, which really makes just great sense. So we have somebody who has an expert in training social workers across the state, now developing our expertise in training students. And we're hoping to see more of that collaboration coming forward because they work so closely with all of the social workers in the state. As far as general college updates for you all, we did receive last year when I talked to you, we had just received notice that we had been awarded a strategic investment proposal was awarded. So I always think it's great we can close the loop, and I want you to know that we have been working hard with that money and done some really, really good things. So part of that strategic investment was to put together an interprofessional writing team. So we had one member from each of our departments who have been meeting at least a couple of times a month to go through different proposals, see where we can generate some interest in submitting some grant proposals. We were able to hire a college statistician, and our goal was to try to expand our RAIN program. RAIN is the recruitment of American Indians into recruitment and retention of American Indians into nursing. So because of that effort that we put forward, we actually increased the number of grant submissions we've had in some time, and we have 14 that are out there pending right now. Dr. Glenda Linseth did just find out about a month ago that she was awarded her most recent NIH submission for 1.5 million. So we're very, very excited about that. Based on the writing group and the activity and the change of the culture that we're trying to shift in our research capabilities, we had 4 faculty from all 3 departments submit to the Early Career Scholars Program. We had 8 faculty from the college who authored 13 publications. And we did in fact hire 2 new RAIN members, one in particular to focus on the departments of social work and nutrition. So RAIN has officially expanded. They have gone back to recruiting in person. And now they get to tell everybody about all 3 departments in our college. So we're really looking forward to seeing what happens with all of their increased recruiting efforts. We also hired a new marketing coordinator to enhance our social media presence, and that has been delightful. We're able to highlight the work that our students are doing as well as our faculty, and just getting some really nice feedback from alumni who seem to be coming back, which is really great to see. And we had our first nursing living learning community in Brannan Hall. We started out with 9 pre-nursing students, and they have told us that so far we have 26 expected for fall of 23 in Brannan Hall. In the college, we did have a few Founders Day awards. The Interdisciplinary Collaboration and Research and Creative Activity Award went to 3 of the members in our college. Karen Lee Barkdahl, Isaac Karakari, and Brett Weber all sat as part of that team, along with Ashley Bain and Tanis Welch. And that was for the work that they did around COVID. We also had Valerie Bauer from our Office of Student Services be the recipient of an Academic Advisor and Recruitment Award, which was great. And this is just brand new. We found out just a couple weeks ago that RAIN is going to be receiving the inaugural Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award at the Dakota Conference that'll take place in June this summer. So they don't have a lot of information for us yet, as it's the very first one that'll be offered. And then we have a very busy spring coming up in the next couple weeks, especially. We are having our Research and Scholarship Day here in the Union on the 28th. So just on Thursday, love to see everybody stop by if you can. 105 presenters, 45 will be in person, and then we have virtual posters that are also being offered that day. We have our nutrition and dietetics banquet coming up. Our RAIN traditional meal is coming up on the 10th of May. For the first time, it'll be hosted here in the Union, and they are expecting over 100 people. So this will be one of the largest traditional meal ceremonies they've had in a long time. We've had a record number of inductees into Sigma Theta Tau, which is the International Honor Society for Nursing. They will be inducted on the 11th of May. And then we have our pinning ceremony as well as social works pinning and hooding to happen on the 12th. So thank you very much for your time.
important work. Glad to see that things are lots of exciting things going on. We all depend on nurses at one point or another. So I'm glad that we're contributing to that. I believe that Dr. Wynne is on. Is that right?
Yes, Professor Newman, how are you?
Good. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me start with two apologies. One, I was hoping to be there in person, but life happens. And number two, it took me a while to log on. So I need some help from my 11-year-old granddaughter on how to manage devices, obviously. Thank you so much for this opportunity to give you an update of what's going on at your School of Medicine and Health Sciences. It's my pleasure to discuss things on behalf of the faculty, staff, and students of the school. Let me start off just with some accreditation and program review results. All of our programs get reviewed in one way or another in the university as a whole under the Higher Learning Commission, of course, but the medical student program is separately accredited through the LCME, the Liaison Committee on Medical Education. And we recently received news that we've been fully accredited for an 8-year cycle, and the next accreditation visit will not be until the 2029-2030 academic year. So that's excellent news. Our health sciences programs also did extremely well. The medical lab science and histotechnology programs are fully accredited with no citations. And the Department of Biomedical Sciences completed a successful internal graduate program review with very positive comments made by the external reviewer. Here are some metrics of things that we have established as our missions, and I want to show you how we're doing. So one of the important things for our MD graduates, the physician graduates, is that we want them to enter a primary care field, especially family medicine, and practice in rural areas. So here are data that are nationally compiled that show our percentile ranking compared with all the other 154 medical schools in the United States. So for the percent of our graduates practicing in rural areas, we're at the 99th percentile and 93rd percentile for the percent of graduates entering family medicine. That is, we do substantially better than almost all medical schools in achieving those two outcomes. Similarly, it's extremely important to the state that our graduates remain within state. So here shows our percentile ranking, again, compared with other schools, as to how we've done over the last decade. You can see that a decade ago, we were well below average, down near the 25th percentile, and now we're consistently running well above average at around the 75th percentile as far as having graduates practice in state after they graduate. Obviously, critically important for the state of North Dakota. We have similar value to the state in not only physicians, but physical therapists, occupational therapists, physician assistants, and medical lab scientists, where we provide about half of all of the practitioners in the state. And notice the first bullet. More than 3/4 of all of the family medicine physicians in state either went to UND and or completed a post-MD degree residency within state. So of the people who did that, 78% are practicing within state. We have some new programs that are also expanding substantially. We are well aware of the importance of public health and indigenous health for our students. This shows the pretty astronomical growth in enrollees in our master's and PhD degree programs in the public health and indigenous health programming area. From a research standpoint, our researchers Both faculty, staff, and students have done a phenomenal job of studying diseases of a special relevance to North Dakota. This include Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases, diseases of aging, cancer, infectious diseases, that is vector-borne, opioid addiction, and epigenetics. One measure of that is how much sponsored funding our researchers have been able to garner over the years. Because funding tends to jump around a little bit from year to year, this is a 3-year rolling average of funding, and you can see the steady increase over the years, and then the fairly dramatic increase over the last 3 or 4 years. In fact, in the last completed fiscal year, that not a 3-year rolling average, but the amount for the single year, our researchers garnered $48 million of sponsored funding, an all-time record for the School of Medicine and Health Sciences. We also strongly believe in serving the community. Number one, through workforce in the healthcare field, as I've talked about, and a wide variety of other programs. I would just highlight the van that you see to the left on the screen. We have 4 of these vans that provide simulated patient encounters to each quadrant of the state. So we have one going northeast, one going northwest, one going southeast, one going southwest, to actually bring our simulation expertise to the community. Importantly, we have been involved in the repatriation effort, of which you are well aware. With the help of Dr. Alberts and others, there's been a survey of all School of Medicine and Health Science facilities, both on the Grand Forks campus and elsewhere. The director of our Indians into Medicine program, Dr. Dan Henry, serves on the repatriation committee. And one of the things that we're trying to do to try to right some of the wrongs of the past is actually drafting policy that we will not only use internally, but we will promulgate for consideration elsewhere. I brought this issue up to our national organization for the medical program, the Association of American Medical Colleges, and to my dismay, quite frankly, many other medical schools have not even thought about this issue. So I think we can be a leader in trying to right the wrongs of the past and set a much more appropriate future. And we're trying to do this by explicitly stating what our expectations are now and in the future. Finally, I just want to emphasize how we are trying to integrate our strategic plan with UND leads. So when we had the UND, the prior plan, the one UND, what we did was we took that plan and internalized it and applied it to the School of Medicine and Health Sciences and established our own metrics for achieving those goals that we set. Now with UND leads and the 5 bullet points that make up leads, we are now taking that, and our faculty are working to internalize and apply UND leads internally. We are going to allot this calendar year to that process so that starting in 2024, we will have our own metrics in these fields of learning, equity, affinity, discovery, and service. And then our faculty council will monitor our success in achieving those strategic merits over the subsequent years. So we basically are about a year behind UND because we need that year to internalize UND leads into the School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and then we will monitor our progress as we move forward. Finally, let me end with our goals. So I've sort of told you where we are. Now, where do we hope to be? Well, we want to be the best community-based medical school and health sciences school in the country. Community-based means that we don't own or operate our own hospital, but we have to work in concert with our clinical affiliates throughout the state. We want to continue to be an innovator in education with a focus on interprofessional teams so that we can maximize the unique skill set of different health professionals. We want to continue to develop focused programs of research excellence, and we want to serve the people of North Dakota and beyond with a focus on rural health, healthcare workforce development, especially in primary care and family medicine, and health advocacy, particularly through the use of interprofessional care, which we believe by emphasizing that we will maximize patient satisfaction, improve patient outcomes, and reduce healthcare costs. So I'd like to thank you for your attention. Professor Newman asked me to stick to 7 minutes, and I think I came pretty close to that. And I thank you for your attention. And if there's time at whatever point he determines, I'd be glad to try to answer any questions. So thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate being with you, if albeit virtually. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Wynne. I am very happy that you made it here today. And nothing drives home the importance of doing a good job for our students than going to your doctor and finding out that they're UND grads. And then they tell you, and I had you for introductory biology. It's important to do a good job. Next up, we'll see what is going on in the grad school with Dean Nelson.
Thanks, Bob. It's good to be here today. The grad school touches on a lot of things. You know, we sit at the intersection of the provost's office, the colleges, other support units with whom we have a lot of partnerships. So what we're going to talk about today is just a few snapshots of what we've been up to in various realms, with a few glimpses of what's to come in the future. I could, of course, my natural tendency as an English professor, help me out, Eric, would be to just go on, but I know the president has some things to say, so I'll try to limit those remarks to my 7 minutes. Let's see. There we go. All right, so as we go through some of these highlights, it's important to keep in mind the larger context here. What's on the screen is some highlights of some things that we've been doing in terms of improving recruitment across campus in moving towards recruitment and enrollment plans, best practices, et cetera. But the larger context is, of course, we are looking to grow at the graduate level. We have the so-called undergrad demographic cliff coming at some point. Masters is going to be a growth area. And insofar as that is the case, it's going to be important to work with all of our master's programs and our PhD programs, where we also want to have growth as we move in the direction of R1, to make sure that we have specific intentional recruitment plans at the program level. And that's something that I've already begun working with programs, and I will continue to do so going into next year. This can't be simply growth for growth's sake, right? We have to pay attention to workload, to advising capacity in the programs, because the growth that we engage in has to be sustainable, especially in terms of our aspirations. So let's see. Okay. The other thing to remember here when we're talking about recruitment, retention, completion, it's all of a piece, really, when it comes to our graduate programs and their functioning, right? We don't recruit well unless we also retain well, because if we retain well, That means we're doing well by our students. They're successful, they're happy, they're satisfied. That leads to better completion and satisfaction upon graduation. All of that then has a rebound effect on recruitment. So the different things that we're doing up there that we will continue to do, the new initiatives that we come up with are all focused on reinforcing that circular action where each of these things impacts the other, right? One of the major drivers in retention of graduate students these days is a sense of belonging, community. It helps to address mental health and wellness, which is at disturbing rates in terms of struggles amongst graduate students. So that's something we have to pay close attention to. Part of that, though, is also what's the value proposition of graduate education in terms of satisfaction, career outcomes, preparation for a wide range of career outcomes, but also transparency about what our career outcomes are in our programs so that prospective students know what they're getting themselves into, even though, of course, data shows that they will change their minds. But that also means we need to be open with our graduate students about the range of career paths available to them. And that gets at, right? You know, a need stated by most disciplinary associations, again, is broad career preparation. Historically, especially at the PhD level, it's been training for academia. The academic job market is not in a good place right now. Less than half of PhDs over all fields will remain in academia. In some fields, it's less than 20%. We have to pay attention to that at all levels. Our curriculum, our professional development opportunities, our training opportunities, our awareness of the professional skill sets that our students need to be successful. To help with that, we have Accelerate to Industry, which we continue to develop, making connections with industry partners for internships, employment pipelines, bringing folks in from industry to talk about the skills that will make graduates successful. I was thrilled. Angie Freeman, who was C.H. Robinson, she was here in December. She did a talk for us this spring. She has totally remade for me my idea of the soft skills that, you know, I've been trying to call them the professional skills, anything but the soft skills. She calls them the power skills, which I think is outstanding because those are the skills she sees as essential to long-term success and growth in the people that they hire. And our students really enjoyed listening to her. But all the different things we do in terms of our professional development workshops, we have partners all over campus who help us with these, who I need to thank. I see the library is here. They do quite a number of things for us, for which we're very grateful. UCC, Career Services. I think I see Anna Kinney back there. The dissertation writing retreats she puts on for us out of the Writing Center. Outstanding. And makes a big difference to the progression of our students. A key part, obviously, and this is something we've been spending a lot of time on in the graduate school of successful graduate students programs, and I would argue graduate faculty, is the quality of the mentoring and advising relationship. When that goes bad, bad things happen, and I end up having to talk to Heather Wages. I mean, as much as I love talking to Heather, you get it, Heather. So every survey out there shows how important this relationship is, and yet it's a major hole in graduate education and institutional training. How to be a quality mentor. It makes not only our students happier and more productive, I would argue it makes our faculty more productive and happier. Research productivity goes up. Everything improves with quality mentoring, and yet as I've given trainings to programs across campus, I've asked faculty to raise their hands if they've ever had any training, either in their graduate program or in the institutions that hired them. And I think out of probably well over 100 faculty so far, 2 raised their hands. Given how crucial it is, why we don't offer training is beyond me, but we're working on it. We got a new policy that I hope will be approved in a couple weeks to provide mentoring training to all new grad faculty at the assistant level. Obviously, we'll welcome anyone interested in that training, current faculty included. All right. I also want to point out there, the summer professorships going forward, we restarted that. It's been a while, I think, Bob, since, if you remember, since we used to have those. These I decided to bring back to encourage faculty research and development innovations in grad education, something that will help improve the graduate experience. As just what I've been talking about, Diane Darlin proposed a peer mentoring training program for grad students. The whole we were just talking about, we hope to take the research she does and scale that up to a campus-wide program. So that's outstanding. We hope to do that with all of the our awardees research this summer. So part of growing, I think, the graduate school and graduate education on campus is raising the visibility and improving, therefore, the viability of graduate education at UND. This is both at the local, the state, the regional, and the national level. And so there are different things the graduate school does, whether that's me or others in our office, going to conferences. I went on a traveling road show because this is internal and external stakeholders, right? We need to be out there amongst our graduate programs, our faculty, our students, but also our constituents elsewhere. I went on a traveling roadshow to meet with every single graduate program on campus starting in October. About 85% of the way through, those meetings have been very productive so far, and they help give me a sense of what are the specific challenges, goals of each program. But at the federal level, I'm on committees that help raise our visibility on the national stage. So I'm part of a group of graduate deans that actually I leave tomorrow. We'll be talking to subcommittees on Capitol Hill about initiatives, legislation, et cetera, important to the graduate education enterprise nationally, but also here at UND. So just a brief preview of things to come. We are working on with Tande, another one of our outstanding partners on campus, providing GTA training for the first time. This is not only to improve the experience of our graduate students, I think arguably it will improve retention at the undergraduate level, where we have graduate students with no prior experience in the classroom and with quite widely varying levels of training provided before they get in the classroom. I was provided with exactly 1 hour of training from the University of Illinois when I started. I can't even imagine how bad a teacher I was for that first semester or year. I feel terrible for those students, but we're trying to rectify that. The other priority there is training for our graduate program directors. Again, what are the typical roles, expectations? How are these evaluated, compensated? What can we provide so that new graduate program directors can hit the ground running? It varies a lot, department to department, how much is provided to segue from the old director to the new, and we want to fill that gap. Last, I'll just touch on a couple of these and then that'll just about be it. Student services, we've got 2 new hires in the office. Kate Larson is working with EHD. Kaisa Sapola is working with the College of Engineering and Mines, and we have a new marketing coordinator for the some 60+ events we put on to assist with professional development and community building in the graduate school. We're looking forward to a new software system to replace GradStats. Thank the Lord. And I have begun getting training for fundraising, to engage in fundraising as part of the grad school. 2 of those priorities that might be of interest would be as an aspirational R1 institution, we don't have fellowships for graduate students. And those are a major thing at R1 institutions to help recruit the best and brightest. That's going to be a major priority for me. Another would be endowing, it's not a faculty position, but a workforce development director of the A2I program that might function similarly to an endowed professor, something I'm kicking around. Last but not least, we are about to embark on a strategic planning process for the graduate school. That will happen in the fall. I think, as Josh said, Dean Wynne in the medical school, we needed to wait for some of the other dominoes to fall because we need to be in alignment, not only with UND leads, but with the strategic plans of the colleges. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris. There's always a lot going on and never enough time to share everything. I think at this point we'll keep rolling. Paula, I asked Paula Cox, the president of the Staff Senate, to provide us with any information that she wanted to share with us. So, Paula.
Good afternoon. So Staff Senate has had a very busy year. Looking at last year, Staff Senate's Staff Recognition Committee has awarded our U-Shine winners for every single month, and will be presenting marches soon. And we will also be picking our U-Shine winner of the year and present that at the Staff Recognition Luncheon that's going to be held on May 9th. Our U-Shine winners receive a $50 stipend on their check, and the U-Shine winner of the year receives a $250 stipend. Our Staff Recognition Committee also plans and implements our Spring Fling and State Employee Recognition Week. These are events where staff are recognized by feeding them lunch or breakfast, and senators show up to help serve, and they do pie socials, therapy dogs, and chair massages. The Staff and Professional Development Committee now accepts applications for our Seeds for Staff Success grants, and we offer these 5 times throughout the year. These grants are used for staff professional development, workshops, training, and/or classes that might enhance your career at UND. Staff members may apply for up to a $500 per year grant, and we do have many staff now that are taking advantage of this program. We also have had guest speakers on leadership that have been set up by our Staff and Professional Development Committee. Some of the speakers that we've had recently are Provost Eric Link, Heather Novak from United Way, Jim Machurik, and Lynette Kronelka from the Strategic Plan. And we've also had people from Workwell and Peter Johnson on the legislature. Through our Community Relations Committee, Jeans Give Back is a program that helps nonprofits receive funding if their application is accepted. We get so many applications in a year that we have a committee that actually selects and have to vote on them. We pick a special one to be able to provide funding to each month. Staff Senate's Engagement Committee has hosted numerous events on campus for staff. There has been bingo, trivia, coffee with Kathy, cornhole tournaments over spring break, dinner with the Armacost, staff takeover events, faculty and staff events, and many, many more. These events are well attended and create a sense of community on campus while helping networking amongst staff and faculty across campus. Staff Senate's Legislative Committee has been very busy this year with the legislation session going on, and they have been able to keep us informed on our bills that have passed, were killed, and ones that are moving on. Our Public Relations Committee has revived our Staff Happens newsletter and the Staff Senate Facebook page. These disappeared during the pandemic, and we were happy to have them back as it keeps people informed of all of the things going on in Staff Senate. Staff senators have been nominated and voted in to help participate in other committees across campus as well. For example, a parking committee, committee on sexual violence prevention and response, campus safety committees, and diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and also the telecom modernization committee. So as you can see, staff senators have been quite busy and look forward to some of the events in the future. Moving into the future, we are working on our shared governance across the university. We plan on having more leadership guest speakers and trying to get more involved by volunteering through our staff recognition and spring fling committees, and also trying to do more service by volunteering in the community. Starting in May, I will pass the gavel to the next group coming in for their administration and presidency. And we look like at having a whole lot more things coming on in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. How about a round of applause for the people that get the work done around here, our staff. All one big team, but we depend on them for sure. Faith. Faith has volunteered to pass on her time slot in the interest of time. She's done a fabulous job as the student body government president. And she's a celebrity too, because you can get online and see the recordings of her testimony to the legislature. I've said this multiple times this year already, but we have awesome students here. And that brings us to our final speaker of the session, if he's ready. President Armacost.
Well, we like you. Happiness in one stomach. Well, it's good that you're all here. And I was wondering just how bright it is. It's pretty bright. Can't really see you. The future is bright, of course. Thanks to so many people for making this semester just an incredible one. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't cooperated like we would hope, but we are 3 weeks away from commencement, and all of the hard work that's happened across the campus has been extraordinary this semester. You've heard from the deans, you've heard from our elected leadership. There's just so much going on the UND campus, and we should all be extraordinarily proud of the efforts that have gone on to support our students. And if you've heard me speak before, the number one thing that we do here at UND is take care of our students. That's why we exist as a university. And so your efforts matter to that. And to all those online, I don't know what the number is up to now or down to. It peaked at 111. We're going down, so I better make it quick. But the students have put forth, and we attribute all of their success to their hard work and their talent and all of the work that our faculty and staff members put forth. Let me offer my congratulations and my many thanks to the Senate leadership and student government leadership. So Bob Newman, thanks for all that you've done. Round of applause for Bob. Paula Cox, let's clap for her again. Paula, thank you. And our student leadership, Faith Wall and Morgan Mastrud did an amazing job. This is a busy legislative session. Cassie Gerhardt, thanks for the close work with that you put forth with them. They were extraordinary this entire year. And then we welcome their replacements whenever the transitions happen. Bob, it's in the fall. Paula, it's in a month. And student leadership happens soon. But Sarah Robinson, Andrea Spaeth, and Ella Nelson, along with Connor Ferguson. Ella and Connor are the winners of this uncontested election this year. So they're going to come in and serve. And I thank all of them for their contributions, what they're about to do to serve each of you. I'd also... The longer we clap, the more the lengthier the longer we're here and the more likely it is that we get our cookies before we leave. The work of the university happens across so many people, the elected leadership, but also the key administrators that we have across the campus, our executive committee, which are our vice president and others that day in and day out bring leadership, talent, enthusiasm, and a vision to our campus that is just unmatched. And so thanks to all of them for their incredible work. We have Vice President and Provost Eric Link, Vice President Melanie Linder. I'm having a hard time seeing out into the crowd. Other vice presidents and EC members, Peter Johnson, who does government affairs, just extraordinary work by all of our teammates to make that work happen. I figured it was fitting to begin my remarks or to continue my remarks talking about the legislative session. This is on everybody's mind about what's going to happen, what's the impact on the campus. And my comments today are kind of in-process comments because the legislative session is still unfolding. And they have till we think May 5th or so before they gavel out, but it might happen quicker than that. It might be that they're finished with their business within the next week or so, but we'll keep you posted. And on May 3rd, we'll have the town hall session, which where we can answer questions that you have about legislative actions and what the impact on the campus might be. But today I'll give you a little preview of some of the areas that we've been watching very carefully. The first I'll start with is the money bill, the appropriations bill, which was 1003. And there's a lot of good things that happened for higher ed within the appropriations bill. We have an increase in the merit pay, which is nice. 6% and 4% is what's currently being proposed as the average pool or the total pool, both in the first and second year, so 6% and 4%. But those are just draft numbers. We don't know what's going to happen until the legislature actually makes their final decision. We have a large contribution by the state to make it happen across our campus. So they're actually giving us more money to achieve the merit pay than they did in the past. And this allows us to freeze the tuition for our students, which is good for the students and their families. There's support to capital infrastructure, where we have additional funding for the Merrifield-Twomley project. Again, this is all proposed. State funding for the engineering half of a new STEM complex, which Dean Tande had talked about. And this requires a donor match for the other 30% of the project. And also a stated intention by the legislature to fund a second phase of that STEM project, which would be the science portion of that facility. In addition, they were very generous for other research projects as well. $9 million for a national security initiative, $2.5 million for a research economic diversification fund, and another $2.5 million for high performance computing. And then in addition, one mainstay project or program that we have is the Challenge Grant program, where the state matches donor funds for things like student scholarships and endowed professorships. And so that will be funded to the tune of Peter, $2.7 million for the university, and then $2.2 million for the School of Medicine and Health Sciences. So those are all really, really good numbers. And so the legislature has done, I think, a nice job recognizing the inflationary impacts of operating a university, and has been very generous to all 11 of the schools. So we appreciate that sense of contribution to higher ed by the state legislature. In addition, there are some other bills that many of you have been tracking, as have we. The Bill 1446 was a bill that affected tenure or potentially affected tenure. This one did not pass. And we had testimony against by Bob Newman, by Faith Wall, by Adeline Emter. And then I also weighed in against this bill. And then although it was originally intended to only apply to 2 schools, we were concerned about the extension of those changes to all of North Dakota higher education, potentially in future biennia. The impact to academic freedom we felt was real, and the impact upon recruitment and retention of faculty members would be significant. However, even though that bill did not pass, the State Board of Higher Education has indicated its interest in taking up this type of measure, not specifically the same measure, but to examine the role of tenure across the North Dakota university system, as well as issues like post-tenure review at each of the 11 schools. So there'll be continuing discussions that we'll keep you posted on that will happen within the State Board of Higher Education. And certainly all the presidents, all 11 presidents, will be active in the discussions there. There's an interesting addition that's related to Bill 1446, an interesting addition to Bill 1003, which was the appropriations bill. I'm going to quote a line. It says, "The president of an institution under the control of the State Board of Higher Education may adopt policies, procedures, and directives for the institution with input, but no authoritative control from faculties and others through shared governance. The Commissioner of Higher Education and the State Board of Higher Education may overturn or amend the president's policies, procedures, and directives." And it's interesting because if you compare that language to our UND Constitution, the UND Constitution grants particular legislative powers vested to the council, to the University Council. So the question we will face is whether this new law, that phrase or that clause within the appropriations bill, has any negative impact upon the way that we execute shared governance at the University of North Dakota. And my sense is the answer to that question is no, it won't. And here's why. Because the UND Constitution has provisions that enable a presidential veto of the legislative decisions. In other words, there's checks and balances that are already built into the UND Constitution that I believe, and our lawyers will either confirm this or reject this, it confirms that that clause is actually satisfied already by the powers that are granted via the UND Constitution. In other words, it appears as though that statement in 1003 seems to, while inflammatory or seemingly inflammatory, may also merely just restate the current processes and procedures that are in place across the system at the university and in our own constitution. So we'll talk more about this over time, but we need to take a close look at this. The leadership team and I will certainly commit to continuing what we think are good principles of shared governance on our campus. I think it's important for us, and I see the provost nodding because he and I are in gross alignment on this. It's important for everyone to know that shared governance will remain alive and well here on campus. Another bill that I should comment on is the bill on what originally was known as divisive concepts, or now specified concepts. This was Bill 2247. This did pass, though Bob Newman, Liz Legursky, Faith Wall, Adeline Emter, and I raised our objections to this bill. There is a silver lining to this bill, and that is that we raised an issue up front early in the process of making sure that protections to academic freedom were in place. And this remains in the bill that has been approved. Now, the governor hasn't signed it into law yet, but that provision to protect academic freedom and freedom of speech exists in that bill. The prevention of covering specified comments then appears to be limited to non-credit training events for employees and students. But certainly when you have a bill that talks about specified concepts like this, it could certainly impact recruiting and retention of faculty and staff. And so we need to make sure that we understand the scope and the meaning of this particular bill before it goes into play, but also to make sure that we acknowledge publicly the presence of academic freedom here on our campus, and that when folks are considering whether it's staff or faculty to join us on the campus of UND, that they have the complete story about what this bill entails. There were a whole number of other bills regarding gender identity. There was gender identity in pronouns, and in that one bill was passed, then vetoed by the governor, and the veto was sustained because there weren't enough votes to overrule it. A number of other bills were not passed, and then there are two that are still on the docket by my count. One is 1522, which is currently in conference committee, at least it was this morning. It talks about government entities not being able to adopt policies that require employees to use an individual's quote preferred pronoun. And 2260, which is still awaiting action, applies only to K-12. It's a parental bill of rights that states that schools must adopt a policy that states individuals cannot be required to use pronouns that differs from a child's biological sex. All I can say is the balance between freedom of expression and how we refer to one another and the respect and non-discrimination practices towards our transgender community, those balance of rights is still being worked out in the courts. So there's two different circuit court decisions that seem to conflict with one another, and we'll have to wait and see what the courts tell us on a number of these issues. But first and foremost, UND, I should restate, that remains firmly committed to ensuring that our trans and gender non-conforming community are afforded respect and dignity as human beings, and that they receive an educational and a working environment that's free from discrimination and harassment. And similarly, we afford that sense of dignity and respect to all campus members to make sure that everyone on our campus feels the right that they're going to get a fair and equitable education. There's also gender identity and use of common restrooms. So 1473, which passed, talks about restrooms or shower rooms that are designated male or female and must be used by members of that sex, and accommodations for transgender or gender nonconforming students are allowed at the discretion of the housing director. Now, this is not yet law, and we'll need to assess how the configuration of our facilities, of our residence halls and living spaces actually compare with what's specified in this particular law. So there's still some work to be done to understand the overall impact. And again, as we report out after the legislative session is over, we'll make sure that those points are clear as well. And then finally, with respect to gender identity, there's a bill 1489, which talks about gender identity and sports and transgender athletes in competitive sports. But this is, again, at the same time that the U.S. Department of Education recently came out with guidance under Title IX about transgender participation in sports at various levels of schooling. So again, it's right now a muddy legal picture, and we'll see how the state decisions on law will intersect with what federal law is telling us as well. Okay, keeping on going. The other ones that got the campus's attention, there's bills on libraries, obscenity, and censorship. These were bills 1205 and 2360, and neither applies to the universities, but the provisions have certainly ignited strong opposition from free speech advocates. Again, we will watch this carefully because free speech is something universities care deeply about. As the language of this bill invokes three-prong tests that are similar to obscenity standards, and courts have determined that First Amendment rights don't cover materials that are determined by those standards to be obscene. Okay, in other words, we have to watch this one carefully too, because there's some mixture and some uncertainty within how these laws and standards will apply. And then finally, guns on campus. There were a series of gun rights bills that did not pass that will undergo a legislative study during the interim session. So we'll talk more about each of these bills on May 3rd. I'll probably give a shortened version. I think what we might have at that point, Melanie, a draft of some of the points that I brought up and probably a little bit more that hopefully we'll have in advance of that meeting, but maybe after that meeting. I'm not sure what the plan is. And then have a discussion and answer questions that people have about each of these. I just wanted to get it out there to the 90 people still online. It means I'm talking too long. But we'll certainly have that session via Zoom and entertain any questions that are there. Let me say just a few words about strategic planning, because you heard all of our deans talk about their adoption of strategic planning under the UND Leads rubric. I think it's important that we recognize the people who will be involved. And I saw him come in. I think there he is. Ryan Zier let me announce him publicly today as our new Associate Vice President for Strategy and Implementation. So he'll be leading our campus charge as part of his duties. And Ryan's background across so many facets of our institution make him well suited to serve in this role. So Ryan, thanks for taking the mantle of leadership here as in that new AVP role. And then in addition, he'll co-chair the UND Leads implementation team as part of those duties. And then joining him as the other co-chair on this team is Angie Carpenter, who has been an active member of our strategic planning efforts, both under One UND and also under UND Lead. So how about a round of applause for Angie, who I don't think is here. And by the way, in case you're wondering, the reason I've been talking so long is the snacks are here in the back. So, so that's good news. And the implementation team, we're still crafting it, but include folks like our UND Chief Data Officer, Amanda Mosky, our new Director of Institutional Effectiveness, who will be announced soon. And then in addition, Rob Carolyn and Anna Clark will be participants as well. They did a great job supporting the efforts of our strategic plan development, and they'll continue on the implementation side as well. And then finally, success stories abound on our campus. You should be so proud of folks like Sydney Meny, who is the UND's first ever Marshall Scholar and will study for her master's degree at University of Southampton in England next year. We have Catherine Rand and Steve Light, who you saw the picture of them as our new Chester Fritz Distinguished Professors, a huge honor. Kaylee Trottier, who was just recently designated as the director of our University Counseling Center. She moves up from a previous position within the center and now takes the mantle of leadership there as well. And so we're proud of the work that Kaylee has done throughout her career, but also now in this new role. And then, as you heard, our repatriation team continues to make extraordinary progress. We're proud of the work that's happening on behalf of the Native American ancestors. And on May 1st, we welcome our new member of the team. This is our NAGPRA liaison, who was selected, Mary Baker. Mary Baker comes from the MHA, or the 3 affiliated tribes. She has experience as a historic preservation officer and also a cultural resources manager. And so she'll join the team. She's got an amazing reputation across all of the tribal nations who have been involved in repatriation. And Mary joins our team on May 1st, and we're excited to bring her aboard. And then finally, let me thank also, because he wasn't here earlier for the fall University Council meeting, but Vice President Art Malloy, who joins us as Vice President for Student Affairs. And I should also take the time to recognize our other Vice President who joined us in her official position this year as well. And that's Carla Mojon Stewart, our Vice President for Finance and Operations. And so how about a round of applause for those two? As I said to open, the campus is alive with the hustle and bustle of spring. Here we go, 3 weeks until commencement. This is a time for all of us to celebrate the achievements, the drive, the commitment of all of our students, but also thank all of those who made it happen for them, the faculty and staff of the University of North Dakota. This is a time where we talk about the pride we feel and the love yet greater for UND. So thanks everybody for being here, and enjoy some snacks. We're not doing Q&A today, are we? Correct? Or we are? We are not. We're not. Yes, we are not. Thank you all. Give yourselves a round of applause.